codes. So you can't go in there yourself and do it. The listing agent has to do it. So doing open houses, make sure the listing agent has done the profile and added them to realtor.ca. You got to do it by Thursday night. You do it on Saturday morning, you're not going to get anybody, right? Because the computers only run every once a night to go through the cycle. You won't be able to do it Friday night. Friday night's a bit of a. I think you can probably do it Friday night too, but you want to be extra safe. You want to do it Thursday, right? So that's it. Market itself is okay. So I just get into Tilson Street right away. Who wants that? Tilson Street. When you guys take a listing, we give you a listing package. You got a listing package and a lot of pre-typed stuff. A lot of agents nowadays, I guess, are probably getting their own packages and doing their own thing. But we give you the packages we give you are there on purpose, and one of them is for your privacy policy. For instance, we have to explain what our privacy policy is to the public, and that's there. We have to explain to the listing agent, to the sellers, what the lockbox policy is, that there's risks with lockboxes, and the seller has to acknowledge that. We stick it on there for the leases as well, just because it's easier to put in both of them at the same time. But anyway, so that paperwork's important. But the one I want to talk about most important right today is the mortgage verification. And did you guys talk about, looking at the new folks here, mortgage verifications? Did they talk about mortgage verifications at the real estate school? Maybe they did, but you don't remember. All right. So when you place a mortgage, you got a mortgage, you got a first mortgage, you get let's say you got a 5-year fixed rate mortgage, and you want to maybe get out of that fixed rate mortgage before the 5 years is up. It's a 5-year term, and you want to leave before the 5-year term's up. The lenders isn't just going to let you go because they've committed that money. They've committed that money for 5 years, and you want to get out in 3 years. So they're going to let you out, but you have to pay a penalty, and the penalty could very much be the whole 2 years of interest. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Sometimes it might be 3 months penalty, 3 months penalty of the payments, or interest differential, whichever is higher, right? Everybody's okay with that? So if you've got a first mortgage and the seller and the consumer, because we're all internet now, the consumer can go to their own mortgage, and they can actually go in and see what the outstanding balance is on their mortgage. So if you go to them and say, do you have a first mortgage? Yes, I do. Can you check with them to see whether or not what the cost is to have a discharge? They'll say, oh, I'll just go on my computer and I'll find it. Oh, the outstanding balance is $600,000. That's the outstanding balance. It's not what we're talking about. We're talking about discharge penalties to get out of that mortgage that will not show up on their computer. Something we have to get from the bank. There's a form on there that the seller signs, gives you permission gives the bank permission to the bank to give you that information. But sometimes you deal with a bank manager who doesn't understand, and they won't give you the information. Therefore, you got to go to your client and ask your client to do that. Are we okay with that? Today's more important because now we have a thing on there that's a little bit different. Now you've got your second mortgages and you've got your third mortgages, which are privates. And unfortunately, private mortgages are most times they're from corporations, but sometimes they're individuals that are just individuals doing second mortgages, third mortgages. And they're not sophisticated. And so we had a case where we've done a power sale. One of our clients did a power of a sale on a third mortgage. And they asked inquiries about the second and the first, saying, okay, what's the outstanding? What's the discharge penalties? What's this? What's that? Second mortgage, who's an individual, didn't get back to them because they didn't understand the value of that. And we finally sold the place. Come closing date, we find out that the buyer hadn't paid the second mortgage payments for 2 years. So in this particular case, it's going to cost somebody $150,000 to get that mortgage discharge. $150,000 because the individual also never paid the taxes. So we got taxes and you got 3 years of mortgage payments. So here you've got somebody thinking you're going to have a paycheck at the end of the day, and mortgage verification may or may not have been done in this particular case. And here's the deal where there's problems. Okay, so all we really had to do is get a mortgage verification, be signed by somebody, to tell us what the penalties were. Grant?
Yeah, so something relatives calls me. So we have a general overview. So we can go and find out what's the first mortgage, second mortgage, or third mortgage. Something the relatives don't know.
Yeah.
There was a second mortgage. We're gonna find for this close.
And if it's not registered, you don't know.
But it will be registered, but the client may not disclose to the.
Correct. So what Grant's saying here is that you're going to go to your client and say, I want a mortgage verification. The client says, don't worry about it. I don't have any mortgages. And then come closing date, there is mortgages, but he didn't bother telling you. So Rand's saying that he has a program that can actually double check that. There's a $35 charge if you want to do it through Geo Warehouse or Parcel Registry. But if you know a mortgage broker that will do you favors, it might save you $30. So are we okay with that?
$30?
$35. It's $35 through Geo Warehouse.
Mortgage discharge situations.
Yeah.
Then there wouldn't let us know about the base market.
Yeah, not surprised. Now, in the past, I've had clients. Okay, I've had agents. And I said to the agent, "Okay, did you do mortgage verification?" The agent says, "Yes, I did." I said, "What did the mortgage company say?" They said they never got back to me. So I said, "Well, let me ask that question again. Did you do a mortgage verification?" You know what I mean? Like without the answer is no, right? So.
Situation here too is that only having 5 mortgages.
Right.
The rates were about 2.5. Still, they have to pay 3 months back.
3 months penalty, yeah. Regardless, even though the rates were
RBC
less, yeah.
has.
Now, in this case, in this market, where it's a little bit different because the rates are actually increasing. When the bank gets rid of their 1.9% mortgage and replaces with a 3% mortgage or 6% mortgage, they're not going to go for interest differential, just going to go for the 3-month penalty. But in 2020, fourth quarter 2024, when the interest rates come down, then the interest penalty will come back into effect. So there's difficulties. I'm not going to any particular order here, but let's just stay with the mortgages for a bit. I read something on the weekend that in 2024, I think it's 2024, the Bank of Canada is not going to allow the banks to stretch out the amortization any farther than 65 years. Did you read that too? So right now, the way it works is if you have a variable rate mortgage, you have either a fixed payments or variable payments, right? And those people with fixed payment mortgages, and they're probably pretty rare. Do you see very often fixed rate variable rate mortgage? You see that very often?
Because of the lender,
some lenders do it, some lenders don't, right? But it really depends. But if you're on a fixed rate mortgage, what means you're paying, let's say you're paying $800 a month at 1.9%. And now the rates are right. And what the federal saying here is they gave everybody a mandate to do that. They told the banks to do that. We don't want anybody going bankrupt. We don't want anybody going losing their house. We want you to help the consumer. That was a mandate from the federal government on chartered banks. But now the company is saying, wait a minute, we said you protect the public, but not to go to 90-year mortgages, because right now you're not even paying interest. So the mortgage that you had today is less than the mortgage you're going to have next month because the interest goes higher than the payments. And the government saying it's not even interest, it's minus. The United States, you know, we've done that up here. United States, that is against the law. Back in when was the big financial crisis in the States? 2008. That's when all these people that had no business getting jobs or didn't have jobs. They didn't mortgage anybody that was alive, and they were doing negative mortgages on purpose, meaning you're paying $800, but you're supposed to be paying $1,000. But we'll add $200 a month to your principal instead. And that's what they did in the States on purpose. And they come in with the law down now saying not even allowed to do that. But in Canada we are doing it. So the government's going to say no, you're not. You can't do that either. So unfortunately for that consumer that's got that particular case, if they're not going to stretch out the amortization, that means they're going to jack up his payments. And he's gonna have to either make the payments or he's gonna have to sell the place and find something cheaper. That's the positives, right? Mhm. I have to do something, right? We have one here, staging. We talked about staging. And be careful with staging. And who does, I'm not gonna ask questions here, but some people will do staging, they'll have their client pay for it. Some people will do staging and they'll pay for it. Some people will have staging and let the client pay for it and they'll pay them back if it sells. Right? And some people will have the client, the seller, the agent pay for it. If it doesn't sell, the client will pay them back. So what the best method, what we're recommending is that you have the client pay for it. And then if you are going to contribute to the cost, then you pay it back once it sells. Case in point, we have one where property's for sale and we're trying to help out the seller. The place has been staged with, you see big numbers. It's $8,000 staging bill. And the property's ready to sell. And then we get a call from the sheriff saying, oh, by the way, if you want your stuff, you better get it because I'm changing the locks tomorrow. So had there been a mortgage verification, maybe you'd have a little more light on what's going on. If I don't know if they did mortgage verification or not. I'm just making up a story. Okay, there was a mortgage verification and there was no indication from the bank that this was happening.
Out of that time, the number was still okay, but you know, up for a while.
Yeah.
Been making payments either, so that.
And do you recall if it was the first mortgage or second? It's the second mortgage. Okay, so it's exactly what I'm talking about, right? So it's what I'm talking about. So
It's on the first.
So the first is okay. So the second is taken over. So in changing markets and changing things, just be aware of what's going on and understand what's happening. That'd be a bit of kick in the pants, wouldn't it? You know, I'm sure that the agent's okay. They're going to get paid back. But some cases it may not. Okay, sales. Right now we're sitting with 15,785 listings. Last week we had 15,500. So they've actually gone up about 300 in the last week. So that's strong. We started off the month, as you recall, around 14,000 or so. So we're actually up to 15,000, almost 800. So we are getting more inventory. So if you got buyers out there that said they want to wait for something to happen, well, something's happening, there's more choice out there. Right. Sales themselves are only up 4% from last year, which is all right. In 2022, for the first 16 days, we had 4,800 sales. 2022, there's 2,500. This year, there's 2,600. So it's up about 4%, but it's certainly down from 2021, but it's okay. And if everybody recalls, March of 2022 was when the government decided to start jacking up the rates, and we've had 10 rate increases since then. So it was March of 2022 that things started to die. And we started to see that again in the summer when it really started to take effect. So the newspapers have been reporting now for the last 2 or 3 months how sales are down 40%, sales down 37%, sales down 18%, 8%. Now they're going to be up 4%. So the positive news is the newspapers are going to start reporting how the prices have actually gone up from this time last year. And June was the first time that we've seen month-over-month increases since August 2022. So that's good news too. So the media will start to report positive things, and that's what we're looking forward to as well. 7,000 leases are active out there. Leases, there's 3,000 freehold, there's 4,000 condos. The leases are actually down 7% for condominium, sorry, down 7% for freeholds, they're down 2% for condos. So the rental market is softening just a little bit, but isn't. I'm seeing a lot of people are getting out of the purchasing something and they're deciding to rent instead. Has anybody had that happen yet? Starting to see a little bit of that now. This guy here is funny. I always do weekly sales as well. And this guy here, he started doing it too. He's saying that a closer look at weekly rather than monthly numbers reflects the same market slowdown seen. So he's doing the same thing I'm doing as far as doing weekly sales. So June confirmed that Toronto housing market is starting to cool down after a hot start to the year. So we did have a hot start in the spring, but now we're starting to get the summer market. Average medium house prices for the last month in June were up year over year. They say for the second month in a row, which is true, and the first time since August. Average prices are still around 1.4. Months of inventory, though, went from 1.3 to 1.9. So months of inventory is important. So in May, it was 1.3 and June 1.9. So it's nowhere near 4, which would be separated between a buyer's market and seller's market. So there's actually still a seller's market at 1.9. Does it feel like a seller's market? I don't know. It's a little bit slow, right? See that? So keep an eye on your months of inventory, and months of inventory is related to, well, supply and demand. Mortgage payments for many to skyrocket after Bank of Canada rate hike. So this was skyrocket. So you guys tell me. So the interest rates went up 1/4 point last week since we talked. Went up 1/4 point in June. They're talking about another rate. They're talking about another increase in September 17th. I think it is 14th or 17th, somewhere around there. I have no idea what's going to happen there, but we're talking about little bits, right? Surprise?
Well, little bits, 10 little bits.
Right.
Or it'll be 11 little bits now.
The 11 little bits, right?
Remember, a little bit of a lot of it.
What just so you know, the cost of living is 3.4%. They're trying to get it down to 2%. Cost of living. They're trying to get it down to 2%. So that's why they're suggesting that they're not going to get. So if you got somebody that says they want to wait, you got buyers out there saying they want to wait. They think the interest rates are going to come down. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, but they're going to go up before they come down. Right. This poor guy here had a mortgage that had a 20-year amortization. 1.4% would have been the amortization when they took it like 5 years ago. Let's say 4 years ago. So this poor guy here, and this is not one guy, it's anybody here, but they had a 20% down on a $1.245 million house. Seems normal, right? The payments at that time would have been $3,937. So now when that person renews at the current rates, probably in the 6.15 range, they're going to go from $3,900 a month to $6,500 a month in a year and a half. So you may have clients that have bought 3 years ago, 2, 3 years ago. Those are clients you may want to have a you want to talk with. You want to talk to them about what's happening there. Some of them might have just got into the market in 2020, 2021 was a crazy market. People were just jumping in to get in the market because money was so cheap. So maybe even at 1.9%, they're already up to here. And a lot of these guys went to the second mortgages and third mortgages because they were up to there, and they could go up to here if they did that. Right? So what's happening now is that these guys are going to have to renew. So you may have clients in that situation. You want to talk to them. You know, what are your options? What are the options? Any good options there, Brad? In this case here, the guy's got a 1.9% mortgage on a let's say it's an open mortgage.
I think if they have debts, they should consider the debts if they're equity or not. That's not a problem. If they're credit card credits, they have a bit of cash.
So he's all right. So Brand's saying, look at your overall picture. I mean, the mortgage rate is the mortgage rate. It's going to go up whether you like it or not. So look at the other debt you have at 21% range and see whether or not you can get rid of that debt. That's really the only answer. Otherwise, everybody's going to have to dig or sell. Is my point. Right? So it's good opportunity. You look and you look like sellers here. We're real estate agents, right? Our job is to look for opportunities, right? Our job is to help people. We didn't create the rules. We didn't increase the rates, right? But we have clients that are in trouble, so we're gonna try to help them, right? And that's the purpose of the conversation. House price increases will likely slow down this summer, experts predict. Okay, so we know that. I thought this was cute. After they increased the rates on, was it Tuesday? Wednesday? I checked the stock market that day. I wanted to see what did the TSX do the day that they announced the increase of the rates? And what would you think the stock market would have done? Why?
Banks are going to make more money.
Hmm?
Banks are gonna make more.
No, like in our world here, the interest rates go up and everybody's, oh, woe is me, and the market's dead, and nobody's gonna buy, and people have to leave, they're gonna lose their house, and that's our world, right? But in everybody else's world, that was good news, and the stock market increased. So we should think it's good news too. I told you, I'm gonna turn this into a positive meeting. Right? Good news about increase in interest rates. Does anybody here have, I hate to say it, but GICs? Right? Does anybody have money sitting in the bank right now? So all of a sudden now you went from 1.9% to 5.25% increase in your rate. Right, so that's positive news. So even though they might be losing money here, well, maybe they got some savings and they're getting money there, and it's a significant difference, right? Yeah, it's quite a bit. Okay, how do you turn this into kind of positive news? Nelson did a little check last week on what's going on in the marketplace, and we're kind of curious to see how many bank sales there are. Power sales. And just a cursory check, just a real quick check. Katelyn wrote me something here. Did you check this, Katelyn, or did you get it from Nelson?
Probably check with someone.
Did you encourage him? Anyway, it says here this week they saw 29 power sales come on the market last week. Yeah. And my question to Nelson was the time, how many people here are the second mortgage holders and third mortgage holders, and they're saying quite a few of them, right?
There's only 3 that were from A lenders. The other
25, I think, were private.
25
So it goes back to what I talked about originally. You've got these private mortgages, second and third mortgages, make sure you're communicating with them, find out what the discharge penalties are, because these guys don't have any rules. Right? These guys are predatory lenders, and they're hoping that the owner will not make the payment so they can scoop the property up.
Most people in a private flip for that bad.
Once they got the second, all right, you tell me, I'm assuming that the guy back to, say, 2020, 2021, they got a 1.9% mortgage, and even then they didn't qualify. So they went to a second and a third to be able to make it happen again. And now I guess they said, so,
Can I say something like that? Like, honestly, I think what we're seeing in the policy is these are unqualified buyers.
they should, this
They
is
should
my,
never
this
gone
is,
into the market, in
this is my point. This is my point. Like they're already up to here, and they got to get a second mortgage, so they're up to here already, and they should have no business being there in the first place, right?
But I think some of the buyers who's going on policy, they already up to here.
Yeah.
People made it that qualified for a mortgage, and they were qualified.
Everybody follow that?
Remember those days.
Remember those days, I mean, to get a mortgage for anything. I think like everybody wants to get a mortgage no matter what. Right? And then people used to laugh and joke and say, oh, yeah, you know, go to Brampton, get a mortgage anywhere. I mean, it's, you know, but now, you know, we have these rules in place for specific reasons to protect ourselves, right? But some people want to go beyond that, and this is where we're at, right? So Korea says that they're going to downgrade the sales forecast as interest rates weighing on buyers. They originally thought that they're going to have a 6.8% increase in price in units, not prices in units, but now they think it's going to be 1.1% drop. Not a big deal. Competition eases and GTA as orbiting levels decline. People got, I don't know, if you're trying to make content for your social media, you always try to think of different things, right? So these people here, they decided that what percentage of properties that sold over asking, right? And we all know that if it's sold over asking, that's an engineered price. We've purposely given a low price to generate multiple offers and over asking. So it's really not a fact. We've engineered this ourselves. But that being said, they're still saying that 60% of all GTA mortgages were overbidding in June versus 68% in May. So it's a nothing number here, but it's kind of cute just to show you what's going on, right? 68% in May and 62% in June. It's the fact, it's the trends, right? You want to watch the trends? Rental market in they came in with the quarter report. Rental market has gone up 11% in Toronto. That's for one bedroom condominiums. $2,500. So the rent's gone up quite a bit. How is the rental stuff? Are tenants getting more and more difficult to? We've had two circumstances last week with tenants giving us false information. I don't know how you overcome that. One was the guy took the Equifax and changed it from something to something else. And in this particular case, it was actually a couple weeks ago. This one here, Equifax, as I understand, Equifax has changed their format. They've changed their fonts, changed the logo, changed the way it looks. And this one person submitted one that was the old version. So obviously it wasn't new. So we could tell right away this is old, that's new. All right, so that didn't work out. So we could tell that one there was pretty fake, Jonathan. All right. Yeah.
And then I called them out on it, and
So are you dealing with the tenant directly or through another agent? Through another agent or directly? So we had one through another agent, right? And then we caught the agent, instead of the agent on the first one, we said, hey, like, what are you doing here? This is wrong, this is wrong. And he says, yeah, we had to do something there. We still need a place. Can we get this place? And we had one last week, and I was impressed because person did what we suggested. That was good. So we had an Equifax score of 750. Person bought the property, everything looked okay, had the job, had this, had that. So the person spent the not even $30, $19 or it is to go to single key. Was it $30? $35. Went to single key, and all of a sudden single key has an Equifax report. Rather than being a 720 score, it has a 520 score. How was that? Just what Jonathan was saying, just cut and paste, huh? So in this particular case, the guy also had 4 bad debts and went bankrupt and everything else. That showed up on the single key report, did not show up in the report that they gave us. For rental. You must see that in the mortgage side. And what do they say? Oh, well, that didn't work. Let's try another one.
The single key is that nobody can open that document because it gets emailed directly from the person who requested the order. Yes, you can't manipulate that document. If you're just getting something from an agent, who knows what was done. But when you do the single key, they don't come back to a form, get back to you directly with nobody touching it or playing it. So that's the benefit of that.
So if you got a seller client, spend the $30. You don't have to do it, or everybody want to do it, but spend the $30 and just do the single key. Make the tenant pay for it. Make the tenant, okay, yeah, you get a tenant, go to Equifax, and here's single key, but then he's gonna get the report and he's gonna change it.
Yeah, I still don't want to. And it also gives you a criminal background check as well, right? So it's not just a quick.
But don't they have an option to send it to a market email?
Well, they can send it to whoever they want, but I'm getting a copy of it. I'm getting the original. back.
No, from the single key.
From single keys.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can want to report back.
They're gonna pay the other
We go get it as well. I'm fine with that. We'll get the original.
So is it okay with that? So single key is it's a company that will just do credit checks for you. So rather than trying to do it yourself for $30, just I'd hire those guys. In this case, they caught somebody red-handed. So.
We also do a social media stuff.
Property in Scarborough, 6 Nichols Street. Remember where that is? Mount Dennis? Where's Mount Dennis? That Eglinton and BVP? Somewhere on there, right? Anyways, this property here, the people paid in April 22, they paid $900,000 for it, and they just sold it last week for $800,000. This is the point I'm getting at when you do mortgage verifications. If the property's going to sell for $100,000 less than what they paid for it in April, then there's enough money to pay yourselves. Right? So you got to make sure you got at least a 5% plus HST deposit. Make sure you get paid yourself. Once we have the deposit, then we are in control. So even if there's no money left over in this particular case, we have the money in our trust account, we're going to pay ourselves. Okay, so be careful with that, right? And if you're a listing agent, the buyer's agent says, well, that's all the money they got, then you say, hey, you know what? We're selling this for $100,000 less than what we sold for. You might want to find another $10,000 deposit to protect yourself. We haven't seen that for many, many years. Just off topic here, but I was talking to somebody last week, and Brian can confirm this as well. When you go to a bank, or you go to a mortgage broker, or you go online, whatever it might be, and you apply for a mortgage, they're gonna ask you right away life insurance. And at this point, everybody's told you the life insurance from a mortgage company is no good because you're paying X amount of dollars for a depreciated payout, right? So if you got a $900,000 mortgage, every time you make a mortgage payment, it comes down, but you're still paying the same for the life insurance policy. So hopefully 15 years from now, it might be $400,000, but you're still paying the same amount, right? So it makes more sense to get proper term or whole life insurance through an insurance company that does through the mortgage brokers or banks. But the advantage of the mortgage brokers and banks is as soon as you sign the commitment letter and you committed to the insurance, you're covered from that day that you've signed it. So if something happens to you between now and the day that you finally close, 2-3 months from now, if something happened to you, the mortgage company would pay for the 100% of the house. As soon as you close, you cancel that insurance and you get your own insurance through your insurance company. Everybody follow that strategy?
So you're saying it's better to get it through the agent?
Better to get it through the bank or the agent at first, and then once you close, get your own.
Have something in place.
And I've had, Aiden had one where he had a client that bought a pre-construction years ago, and unfortunately, a young guy died, and he had signed this, and bank paid for it. And the cost for the insurance, $0. There's no premium unless you close and you start making premiums after it closes. But if you cancel it before you close it, you cancel it and you're done. So it's free insurance. There's no reason not to do it. You should do it every time. Okay.
What was the penalty for,
Nothing. There's no penalty. So everybody okay with that? Toronto assessments. I talked last week how the assessments are really bad, and I haven't complained. I commented about this for years. How when they came in with the assessed value, they came in, I forget what it was. And it used to be like a downtown properties were priced like Forest Hill, and these places were priced like $400,000 and were selling for over $1 million at the time. Properties in Scarborough were the opposite. So they came in with what we call a property assessment. So they assess every property. About 20 years ago, they assessed every property based on the current value, and you pay taxes based on that. But once they did it the first time, they haven't done it now since 2016. But even then, it was nothing. All it is that they applied like a number to it. But the properties the assessed values do not represent what's going on. You know, today, if you bring up an assessed value on a property, it's half, 3/4 of what the sale price is. It's supposed to be the value. Anyways, the Chow now has got onto this, the Mayor Chow, and she says she wants to look at it too. She wants to see it done properly, which makes sense to me. So rather than having a $4 million property downtown assessed at $3 million, a property in Scarborough, $1 million property in Scarborough assessed at $1 million. You understand how it's not fair? Well, it'll equal it out for everybody. It'll decrease for some and equal for somebody else. It'll be more fair. The people that should be paying more will be paying more. No, yeah. So the mill rates, yeah. So the way it works here, the Toronto or every other city creates their budget and have their $1 billion budget. Then they take the total assessment roll of all the properties and they divide the two, and that's the mill rate. So if they come up with their $1 billion expenses and they've increased the assessed values, then the mill rate will be less. Just because they increase the assessed value doesn't mean they're going to actually decrease the mill rate. But anyways, that's a make work job. Somebody said they want to create 20,000 jobs. They'll get somebody to do that. We talked last week about shorter fixed rate mortgages taking the spotlight, and the papers agree with Rand and I what we said last week, that most people now are taking a short-term fixed rate mortgage for 2-3 years. That's the trend nowadays. So client actually, what should I do? That's the trend. That's the recommendation. If somebody asked you, I'm just gonna throw this out. Somebody says to you, gee, the rates went up a quarter point last week. I can't afford a mortgage anymore. Does anybody know? Anybody run the numbers to see what that quarter point represents? I did. The quarter point. How much? 15
150
for $1 million mortgage. So it's $15 per 100,000. So even in the last two increases, it's gone up $30 per 100,000. So if you had $1 million mortgage, it's gone up $300. When you crunch it down to that number, like how many cups of coffee a day is that, right? So if you crunch it down to the simplest thing there, it's not huge. Times 10 is huge, but times 1's okay. Right? And we've already gotten beaten up. It's not the end of the world. Did you sign up for Thread?
Yes.
I'm not sure if it's a good idea or not. Anybody else sign up for Thread?
It's dying already.
I don't. I'm not sure. Like, I know that Thread's competing with Twitter, but I'm not sure Twitter had any space in the real estate world. Like that, I don't think it really did. I don't think Twitter really.
Be in the US, not Canada.
There's some, but it's not. And then I heard today that Instagram is the king, right? So Instagram apparently has less problems, like less people trying to steal data than all the other platforms.
It's like off certain types of has to get a positive.
Good luck.
You say good luck.
Good luck. No, Twitter's all negative. I've never been on Twitter, but everything I read about it's all negative. Guys just bashing each other. I don't know.
I think that's just with any forum, really. You just have to find the right.
It's like real estate hacks, same thing. And all those guys, a bunch of angry people, real estate hacks.
Well, I already read that stuff.
Cottage properties, good news, bad news. Good news is cottage properties have dropped anywhere from they're saying in one area, dropped between 5% and 60%. In Kenora, everybody know where Kenora is? It's part of Ontario. Kenora, Ontario, right? So far away, people think it's in BC. Anyways, their cottage properties dropped 60%. 60%, yeah. Yeah. The one property they sold last year was $1 million, and this year they sold it for $400,000. I don't know. So it says you're 60%. I'll give you down 60%. It's got to be like a handful of properties sold. But prices in cottage country have dropped. Come January, Korea's going to make it so that you cannot have. I don't know. Korea and Korea. They're the organizations that farthest away from you, the guy that's talking to the public, buying and selling real estate. You gotta think about that. If you guys are meeting the public, you're shaking hands, you're signing papers, right? And then above you is Toronto Real Estate Board, and then there's OREA, and then there's Korea. So OREA and Korea they're not touching the client, they're not doing anything, right? But they come up with these crazy rules. One was the health and wellness thing, and which is we'll talk about, but this one here is also the cooperation. And so Korea is saying here that we cannot have exclusive listings unless we put it on. We cannot advertise exclusive listings. Sorry, we can advertise exclusive listings within the office and one-on-one with other agents, but not the public. As soon as we advertise the public, it must be on MLS in 2 days. Advertising for the public means a sign, social media, any of those types of things. So this guy here was complaining to Korea saying, no. This is part of our code of ethics is to represent our clients and our best interests of our clients. And this is not, in our opinion, represent the best interests of our clients. So Korea responded back, and I can't argue with Korea's argument. bunch of words, but anyways, I highlighted one area. Rico's cooperation policy conflicts with the realtor's primary duty to the client. He says it doesn't. The policy reinforces and supports the primary duty to the client, which states the realtor shall protect and promote the interests of his or her client. That's what we have to present, right?
Yeah.
Listing a property in MLS can result in more offers and better offers, which I'm sure we all can agree is in the client's best interest.
No kidding.
But what we're mad is, what we're mad at is not have a choice, like having these people decide for us. I think that is what most people are ticked off of. Same with the health insurance, right? We were ticked off that maybe you already have a health insurance. Maybe your spouse already has it. Maybe there's something else going on, but a lot of people don't. 70% of the people here in this room here without hands do not have health insurance. So they're saying, forget about how it came about. At the end of the day, it's not a bad idea to have some type of health insurance. For $660, you cannot buy this anywhere else. I'm not trying to sell it, and I think it is what it is, but for $660, you can't go to the open market and get something that cheap. So at the end of the day, it's not a bad thing, but we just don't like it being thrown down our throat. So
That's what they cover.
well, we've already covered all that. Covers everything, right? So anyways, but if you still want to, but if you still want to complain,
When we do exclusive listing, it's basically to protect ourselves so that the seller doesn't go and make an agreement with someone else before the starting date of multiple listings. So they didn't disagree to that.
yeah, but you can still do that. Okay, just, yeah. So Nabil's going back to what we just, the other one?
Yeah.
You can still take exclusive listing, but what I said, you can't advertise.
Yeah. Yes,
Right?
We want to protect ourselves.
That's right. So you can take a school list to protect yourself. You just can't advertise.
Yeah.
So it should be okay. Going back to the health stuff, there's if you really feel strong, there's a thing called change.org. You can go to that site, and there's last time I checked, there was like 6,500 people have signed up for that, and you can certainly do that if you like. And also, there's one on Facebook. Somebody's gone to the Facebook, and it says say no to ORWP. You can sign up for that, and you can sign your petition there as well. So there's two spots. Facebook, it's called the say no to ORP. ORP is short form for whatever it says, Ontario Real Estate, something. Ontario, the new Facebook is called Ontario Realtors Opposing Mandatory OREA.
People, they don't send an email to every agent to reply to that.
Because they're just average Joe, you and me, so they don't have access to all units. They're just average people. These are agents doing it. And then everybody's complaining downtown because condominiums are actually going into the last affordable downtown pocket. So they're trying to put condominiums now in Region Park. Jarvis and Dundas, all the way up Dundas, Sherborne. They're starting to do gentrification in all those areas too. They started a long time ago, but if you went down there a couple of years ago, like I was down there pre pandemic, even though they had these new condos, you still had all the characters. All the characters were still there. So now I've got a feeling that the characters are moving out to Ajax at Harwood and Highway 2. Am I right? That one I told you about, they rented their place out, and the tenant signed up with the city with Airbnb and rented the place out Airbnb, and the building doesn't allow it, the city doesn't allow it, nobody allows it, so the owner's suing the city, suing Airbnb, and suing the tenants for $1.6 million. Because she rented it. No, I'm the owner. I rented out to Chad. No, Chad's is the tenant, and then Chad's girlfriend rented it out. Right? And the building doesn't allow it.
area and the building had so many signs about Airbnb and
There's quite a few of them out there.
Yeah. And all the signs everywhere, no. renting here.
Okay, and then a couple of things with Treb now. So today you had to choose those people that hopefully you chose. Hopefully those people chose Stratus. I mentioned last week what the difference between matrix. Right now you have a choice. You have three choices. Realm's always going to be there. And you've got your Stratus and you've got your matrix. You can decide matrix or Stratus. In Toronto, everybody's going with Stratus. If you're out in Kingston or Barrie, you might want to stick with Matrix. But most people here are going with the Stratus. So you don't have to do anything. If you're already on Stratus, you know, it's just going to go to your default anyways.
What's the difference in Stratus and Matrix?
Matrix is used by all the boards outside of Toronto. It's used by the ITSO, and a lot of people outside Toronto are familiar with Matrix. So it's the same data. Different board.
Do you have access to other boards?
No, 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 you don't have access to other boards. You only have access to the.
This is using Matrix?
I use Matrix,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
but
You're using
I'm talking about Stratus. The whole.
And as I said before, the Barrie board is also, Barrie board is effective. Well, at first I think it is. So the Barrie listings are on Treb now under Simcoe. With order of confirmation, right? So the Barrie board does not exist anymore. So if you're the Barrie board, you're used to make them. So now Barrie's gone over to Treb, and Treb is saying to you, you can do Stratus or you can stay with me. So it's more for those guys. Right? And then some people like Matrix, some people don't. But the new Realm is going to be different again completely. Is anybody playing with Realm? I'm doing it. Nelson's doing it now. Still don't like it, but it's okay.
Mobile.
It's mobile friendly, and I was reading here that got here someplace here that mobile friendly on the new Realm. It's gonna tell you some stuff new Realm can do. So apparently it's got face recognition now on the mobile app to sign in. So you don't have to put you wouldn't have to put your clarity thing there with your code. Just go into Realm. There you are. No password. It's just your face. I'm assuming that's what face recognition does, right? There you are, right? so that's happening as well. So okay.
We log in so with that, or?
I think on your mobile, I think you're logging in your mobile. I think, yeah. Try and let me know. Hmm?
The Realm app, it doesn't make you log in every
Yeah.
time. I think you want someone.
So faster login, Face ID, Touch ID is now available for the Realm app. The mobile friendly MLS doesn't get you proper insights and go-to client, so it does those types of things. And I said before, what it's also going to do in the future is if you want to look for that kitchen, like a white kitchen or pink kitchen, you can actually go to the program and say, give me all the properties with white kitchens, and the program will search photographs for white kitchens. It's bizarre, right? So that's kind of cool. Other things that Treb has done, effective today, we no longer have the RealNet. It's been replaced by Altus Data Studio. And what that means is used to go to RealNet to find out the number of hits you had on realtor.ca. Remember recall that? That was on RealNet. Was it not? Was that Realtor Link? Okay, so RealNet's new product. Okay, sorry, yeah, this is all new product. Yeah. There's too many. So this is for new product. So rather than going to RealNet for new product, you go to Altus for new product, condominiums, builders, whatever it might be. So I'll do there. Right? SkySlope. Has anybody tried Authenticize? Is it still available? See if it's still available. But most people went to DigiSign. A lot of people switched over to DigiSign. Some people paid the money and stuck with Authentisign. DigiSign's okay. A couple of glitches here and there. So if you haven't done it and you plan on using DigiSign, use it before you need it. Make sure we get the bugs out. simple thing.
Yeah, it still looks like it's on the sign.
So it's still there. So they wanted to charge you money for it, but it's still there. So much. I notice I've got a couple of still getting them. This one here, I want to put list track. List track is replacing Realtor Link. And that's where you, list track, Realtor Link. Not many people even went to Realtor Link. Anybody here got a Realtor Link? Anybody know what I'm talking about? Some people do, some people don't. Realtor, so if you've got a real tough client, what are you doing to sell my property? Nothing's happening. What are you doing? You can go to Realtor Link or go to this this other thing here. You can go to your my listings on there, and you can find out how many internet hits you've had on my listing. So, Mr. So you have no showings. Okay, no showings. What's going on? Well, we've had no physical showings, but we've had 4,000 people look at it on Realtor.ca, and they've all moved on, thinking that will work for whatever reason. I like this news from Trev. If you guys don't show up for your appointments, if you book an appointment and don't show up, if you go to RICO, if the public complains to RICO, you get a $3,000 fine. 3,000. I've seen fines of $3,000. If the consumer complains to Trev, to fine $600. So if you're gonna get in trouble, make sure they complain to Trev, not to RICO. But the problem when they're Trev, though, I'm responsible, so I get fined too. So it's actually $600 times 2, so $1,200. Right. Anyways, show up for appointments. For sale signs. Does anybody have who's got their own sold signs for sale signs? Who's got their own? Okay. Would you ever stick a sold sticker across your sign? Why not? Damage your sign, right? Okay. But if it's our sign, it's okay. Right? So these signs cost us, I don't know, they're reflected anywhere else. People are putting stickers right on the sign itself. Choose to take the sticker off, the paint comes with it. You might as well take the sign, throw it out. Right. And now the posts. Now they're saying that you stick it on the posts. The way that the installers work, they go to our signs, they take your sign down with the post, and then they have someone else's sign goes up, take the same post, put somebody else's, put the post on, someone else's sign goes on that post. Except that if you put the sold sticker on the post, it rips the paint off, they can't do that. They gotta take it back to the shop, sand it, repaint it.
Really? That doesn't stick out much.
It comes straight off, man. Here it is. You see it come off there?
Yeah, but it's not that was changes, wasn't it?
So we are not, so for everybody here, we're not gonna order stickers anymore. So you gotta have the supply of those U-clips, so those things that stick over the sign, the little clips and whatnot. So we need to have an inventory of those somehow. What are they? $7 each. The stickers are probably $3 each times 2. Plus the $80 for the sign. So I guess that's.
Riders or riders on the clip.
So what some people will do, they'll say, not to give any names again, but sold by Steve. So he's customized his sold sticker. Steve sold it. What's your tagline? Steve sold it. So rather than put sold, he's customized it. Steve sold it.
And then they'll
Right.
it at the warehouse and then want
And
them
then-
to do it.
And then if you want them to put your sold sign, it's $21. Right. But I think you should maybe customize your own. That way, Abe's not going to take Steve's sign. Right? So it makes sense, right? So okay, what else? I'm done. Any buyers, sellers? Buyers, sellers? Anyone wants to talk about buyers or sellers? I want to talk about some good things. Abe did a good thing last week.
He's like, I did.
Abe's from Morocco, right? And the Moroccan population in Toronto is probably quite small. French speaking, right? And Abe was instrumental in doing at Mel Lastman Square, doing an event last weekend there for all these, and how many people? 100,000. And you're the leader of that, right? So hopefully that's good business. You're talking about how to generate business. There's something there, doing something like that, doing something for his community, right? Wasn't just Morocco, it was all kinds of people, right? Yeah, good for you. That was it. I wouldn't suggest everybody do what Dave did. That was like a serious, major thing. So that was. Anybody else? No buyers, no sellers? No. Okay, folks. Brian, you got any words of wisdom?
Yeah, we started with BMO now, so BMO's in the focus.
BMO, that's right. So BMO's always had their own salespeople. They've never used mortgage brokers, but now they are. Why would they do that?
That's way to gain the market share, right? Because that's stuff.
I guess it should be less expensive, maybe.
Yeah, that's expensive. That's what Scotiabank, right? They market share, so
Good. All right. Anything else?
BMO used to use an agent.
BMO had their own people. Yeah. No, you're right. No, years ago they did. You're right.
yeah, they exited in 2004.
Yeah. Okay, nothing else? Nothing else? Okay, folks. All right. See you all at home.
Donuts from Jonathan.